Green bandanas, old school loyalty, and a war they never saw coming. The Gro Street families are the heart of San Andreas. Led by Sean Sweet Johnson, they used to run Los Santos, until drugs, cops, and betrayal tore them apart. They stood for family, for respect, for keeping crack off the block. But that code made them vulnerable, and the Ballas moved in fast, backed by corrupt cops, and worse. By the time CJ returns home, the gang's in ruins. His mission? Rebuild Gro Street from the ashes, one bullet at a time. It's not just a gang war, it's a revenge arc. And for CJ, it's personal. The Ballas are Gro Street's sworn enemies. Easily recognized by their purple outfits, the Ballas are aggressive, well-funded, and tied closely to both the drug trade and corrupt law enforcement. They're responsible for pushing crack into Los Santos and for orchestrating the internal collapse of Gro Street through manipulation and brute force. One of their most devastating moves, recruiting CJ's childhood friend, Big Smoke, turning him into the face of betrayal in the game's central storyline. With Crash officers like Tenpenny protecting them, the Ballas essentially operate as an untouchable gang empire for most of San Andreas. But as CJ rises, so does the pressure on their hold over the city. If Gro Street was about loyalty, the Vagos were all about territory. Rolling deep in lowriders and yellow bandanas, the Vagos are Los Santos' largest Hispanic gang, and they play by one rule: take everything, leave nothing. They don't have one leader. They don't need one. They're a network, connected by drugs, firepower, and the smell of fast money. Their turf stretches across Las Colinas and East Beach, and their drive-bys, brutal, loud, unapologetic. Sometimes they work with the Ballas, sometimes they go solo, but every move they make pulls the city deeper into chaos. And their biggest rival, the Aztecs, who hate them with a passion so deep it might as well be blood. The Vagos chase money. The Aztecs fight for honor. Wearing turquoise and rolling with military focus, the Barrios Los Aztecs don't just protect their turf, they protect their culture. Led by Cesar Villalpando, CJ's brother-in-law and one of the realest allies in San Andreas, the Aztecs are fiercely anti-drug, anti-coward, and anti-Vagos. They may not have the numbers the Vagos do, but every member fights like they've got something to prove. Because to them, every battle is about dignity, not just domination. And when the Aztecs roll out, it's clean cars, chrome weapons, and a code that doesn't bend. Grove had turf, the Aztecs had honor, but the Lost, they had nothing to lose. Born in Liberty City but burning rubber through sandy shores, the San Andreas chapter of the Lost Motorcycle Club is pure chaos on wheels. They aren't just bikers, they're meth runners, gun dealers, and the kind of guys who see a police barricade as a personal challenge. But then came Trevor Phillips, one man, one rampage. And by the time he's done, the Lost's clubhouse is smoking rubble, and their leadership is dead or dismembered. Still, the name The Lost lingers in the desert air, a warning to anyone thinking of flying the wrong flag in Blaine County. Some gangs shoot first. The Madrazzo Cartel makes one call, and you disappear. Led by Martin Madrazzo, this cartel isn't loud, doesn't need colors, tattoos, or a street corner. Madrazzo wears designer polos, lives in a Vinewood mansion, sips tequila under perfect landscaping. And yet, he's one of the most dangerous men in the entire Grand Theft Auto universe. Behind the mansion gates, land grabs, contract killings, and smuggling routes that stretch across borders. Even Trevor, a walking war crime, thinks twice before crossing Madrazzo. Because this cartel isn't just rich, it's untouchable. We've seen the streets of Los Santos, turf wars, drive-bys, and betrayal in broad daylight. But now we head east, to a city where loyalty is a liability, where gangsters wear suits and bullets speak louder than blood. Welcome to Liberty City, where the only rule is, don't trust anybody. Liberty City isn't just Grand Theft Auto's most iconic setting. It's also the most cutthroat. A grimy, violent metropolis where power is fought for on every corner, and everyone has a price. From Mafia families to street crews, biker wars to Russian mobs. Liberty City is where allegiances shift fast, and bullets move faster. If Liberty City had a godfather, it was Salvatore Leon. The Leon family is the oldest and most feared Italian mafia crew in GTA. They run rackets, they run clubs, they run people off the map. In GTA 3, Claude works with them. In Liberty City stories, you become them, playing as Tony Cipriani, a made man clawing his way to the top. The Leons deal in everything: extortion, gambling, drugs, and assassination contracts. But the higher their power climbs, the more enemies they attract: rival families, street games, and traitors from within. In Liberty City, power isn't permanent, but for a time the Leons sat at the head of the table. They were flashy, ruthless, untouchable in the 80s, and then they sent Tommy Versetti to Vice City. The Flli family is one of Liberty's major Mafia players, and back in the day, they were riding high. In Vice City, they sent Versetti south to oversee a drug deal. That deal explodes, literally. Tommy survives and builds his own empire, piece by bloody piece. The Fllis? They lose Vice City. They lose power, and decades later they're still trying to claw their way back in Liberty. But now they're outmuscled, outgunned, and out of time. They're the textbook case of Mafia overreach, bold enough to take on the world, but too blind to see the knife coming. If the Leons were muscle, and the Fllis were flashy, the Syndicos were pure schemers. The Syndico family might be the smallest of Liberty City's mob outfits, but they dream big, and they'll stab anyone to get there. In San Andreas, they make a play for Caligula's casino in Las Venturas, trying to push out both the Leons and the Fllis through backroom deals and quiet assassinations. Their problem? They talk big, act slick, but can't back it up with firepower. CJ exposes their weak spots, literally blowing up their operations in some of the wildest missions in the game. They punch above their weight, and often end up flattened. They don't make threats. They make examples. The Russian Mafia doesn't do flashy. They do cold, calculated, and lethal. And when they enter the story, things always get darker. In GTA 3, they're already a violent force. But in GTA 4, under Faustin and later Dmitry Raskolov, they become one of the most dangerous syndicates in GTA history. Dmitry isn't just ruthless. He's unpredictable. He betrays Faustin. He betrays Nico. He'll betray anyone if it gets him more power. They don't run rackets. They run over everything. And when the Russians are involved, trust is the first thing to die. They're not loud. They're not many. But when the Korean mob shows up, people vanish. Operating mostly in the shadows of Liberty City, the Korean mob is small, tight-knit, and laser-focused on two things: loan sharking and laundering. Led by Young Dai, and backed by cold enforcers like Kim, they don't fight turf wars. They move in silence. But don't mistake silence for weakness. In GTA 4, their involvement leads to some of the game's most intense standoffs, including deals gone wrong and violent escalations with Nico at the center. They may not run the city, but when it comes to quiet power plays, the Korean mob knows exactly how to keep the money flowing and the bodies buried. Bright colors, heavy accents, and no fear in a city that chews up gangs for breakfast. The Yardies bring Caribbean flavor and hardcore firepower to Liberty City's gang scene. They roll deep, speak in patios, and handle business with machetes, Uzis, and a smile that says, "Try me." Led by King Courtney in GTA 3, the Yardies flip from allies to enemies fast, testing Claude's trust before flipping the script and setting him up. They're loud, mobile, and all about respect on the streets. But their real strength, they don't back down from anybody, even the Mafia. They don't just fight turf wars. They fight for legacy, for culture, and for a Caribbean crown in the middle of a concrete jungle. One gang, two colors, and a city that doesn't care which side you're on, as long as you're armed. The Southside Hoods control the rough streets of Shoreside Vale, but unlike most gangs, they're split down the middle. On one side, the Red Jacks, led by D-Ice, loyal, focused, and ready to put in work. On the other, the Purple Nines, reckless, disloyal, and deep in the drug game. That split, it isn't just cosmetic. It's a powder keg, and Claude lights the fuse. The Southside Hoods aren't fighting for control of Liberty City. They're fighting to survive each other. In a city ruled by organized crime, they're the chaos in the cracks. Small time in size, but big time in bloodshed. If the Lost were Rage on Wheels, the Angels of Death were a rolling funeral procession. Covered in red patches and riding choppers that sound like war drums, the Angels of Death are veteran outlaws, older, meaner, and twice as cold. They operate out of Northwood, but their influence stretches far beyond. Drugs, arms dealing, and straight-up murder. And that's just Monday. In GTA 4, the Lost and Damned, they're the rivals, constantly clashing with Johnny Klebitz and the Lost MC in bloody biker wars. Their feud with the Lost isn't business. It's personal. Years of bad blood, broken truces, and dead presidents. And when Trevor comes knocking in GTA 5, let's just say the funeral procession keeps rolling. Before the desert, before Trevor, the Lost MC rode through Liberty like it was theirs to burn. Led by Johnny Klebitz, the Liberty City chapter of the Lost Motorcycle Club was a gang torn between two worlds. One, loyalty, structure, brotherhood. The other, chaos, meth, and a leader named Billy Gray, who couldn't stay out of prison or off the needle. They ran guns, they fought the angels of death in a full-blown biker war, and they watched their own crew split apart from the inside. Johnny, he tried to hold it together, patch the cracks, calm the fire. But in Liberty City, that gets you nowhere fast. Because the Lost weren't just a gang. They were a funeral march in slow motion. And when they finally hit Blaine County, only one name still had a patch. And his story ends under Trevor's boot. If the Leons rule with muscle and the Forellis with ego, the Anchelottis survive with one thing: influence. Operating out of upscale Algonquin, the Anchelottis family is all about nightclubs, political connections, and elite rackets. They don't need to wave guns. They make moves through handshakes, backroom deals, and sometimes a quiet hit. Led by Giovanni Ancelotti, they're often viewed as the weakest of Liberty's 5 families. But that's just surface level, because behind the velvet ropes and cocktail bars, they run loan sharking, protection rackets, and deep pockets in City Hall. In GTA 4, Nico does jobs for them, kidnappings, hits, and dirty favors, pulling him deeper into a world where even the weak families hold lethal power. They may not own the streets, but they own the people who do. If Liberty City was a powder keg, the Diablos were the ones walking around with the match lit. The Diablos are raw, street-level chaos, a Latino gang out of Portland that thrives on violence, vandalism, and full-volume turf flexing. No hierarchy, no diplomacy, just baseball bats, fast cars, and a city that's already on fire. They don't run drug empires or rackets. They run the streets, tagging walls, smashing heads, and lighting up anything that moves in enemy colors. In GTA 3, they're loud, reckless, and relentless, always quick to throw down, even when they're outgunned. They're not the most organized, but when it comes to sending a message with a pipe wrench, the Diablos always speak first and last. Liberty City may be cold and calculated, but Vice City is hot-blooded and flashy. Next up, we head down to Florida, where flowered shirts, machetes, and Miami heat fuel a criminal underworld just as deadly. Welcome to Vice City, where every sunset hides a gun deal, every nightclub has a body count, and every gang has a score to settle. This isn't just Miami with a name change. It's a tropical pressure cooker, boiling with cartel politics, street rivalries, and power grabs dressed in pastel suits. From the neon strip to Little Havana, Vice City is a place where one wrong move gets you buried in the sand, or fed to the gators. In Vice City, nothing runs deeper than blood, except maybe a decades-long street war. The Haitians are a proud, fierce, and heavily armed gang rooted in a little Haiti. Led by the sharp-tongued matriarch, Auntie Poulet, they mix street muscle with something darker: voodoo mystique, psychedelic potions, and mind games. Their biggest enemy? The Cubans. Locked in an all-out turf war that spills into the alleys, clubs, and even government contracts. But here's the twist. Even as Tommy works with the Haitians, he's being manipulated, drugged, controlled, used as a pawn in their war. They may not have the flash of the Versetti Gang or the numbers of the Cubans, but when it comes to psychological warfare, the Haitians play a whole different game. If the Haitians fight with spirit, the Cubans fight with firepower. Led by the loud, pride-fueled Humberto Robina, the Cubans, officially known as Los Cabrones, are all about respect, aggression, and unapologetic bravado. Humberto talks a big game, obsessed with proving his manhood. But don't let the comedy fool you. His crew is serious, and when they ride out of Little Havana, they mean business. Locked in a violent turf war with the Haitians, the Cubans hold tight to their roots, backed by the local community, and willing to do whatever it takes to own the streets. Once Tommy cuts ties with Antipoulet, he teams up with Umberto, launching full-on assaults against Haitian strongholds and shifting the city's power balance. This isn't just a gang war, it's a cultural war, with Tommy as the wild card in the middle. Before Tommy ruled the Strip, Vice City's Mafia had already staked their claim, in blood. In Vice City stories, the Italian Mafia isn't some distant shadow. They're in the thick of it, backed by big money, old grudges, and ties that stretch all the way back to Liberty City. Led by the likes of Paulie Sindaco, they operate behind the scenes, laundering cash, owning clubs, and rubbing elbows with corrupt politicians. But they're not just suits and silencers. They bring in heavy hitters, stir up wars with the Cholos, and lock horns with Vic Vance in a battle over turf, cash, and control of Vice City's criminal core. And just like in Liberty, they overreach, push too far, and learn the hard way. Vice City doesn't play by Mafia rules. In a city full of cartels and mob bosses, you've still got punks trying to climb the ladder. The sharks and the street wannabes are the lowest rungs of Vice City's criminal underworld. More noise than threat, but still dangerous in packs. The sharks, known for their flashy jackets and gangbanger aesthetic, they hang around the beach and Ocean Drive. They're into small-time robberies, stolen cars, and pretending they're bigger than they are. The street wannabes, even lower on the food chain, just scattered crews trying to look hard. No turf, no structure, and definitely no respect. Most gangs rise from the streets, but the Versetti Gang, they came for the top floor. After being betrayed by the Forellis and sent south to rot, Tommy Versetti didn't just survive Vice City, he took it, piece by bloody piece. Starting with nothing, Tommy builds his operations by knocking out the competition. Cubans, Haitians, bikers, dealers, even his own allies. By the end of GTA Vice City, he runs it all. Casinos, drug factories, nightclubs, political favors. Vice City becomes his empire, built on bodies and betrayal. The Versetti Gang isn't just another crew. It's the blueprint for going from errand boy to crime lord. And in the GTA universe, Tommy was the first to do it in style. From Little Haiti to Little Havana, Vice City delivers drama with a body count. But GTA doesn't stop at the city level. It stretches worldwide, with international syndicates pulling strings from the shadows. Let's break down the global criminal forces shaping the Grand Theft Auto universe. Not every gang in GTA wears colors or fights over street corners. Some wear suits, move through boardrooms, and run global operations in silence. These are the international syndicates, the ones who deal in billions, not blocks. From Tokyo alleyways to Liberty's Chinatown, they bring a different kind of danger to the franchise, the kind you never see coming, until it's too late. Other gangs shout. The Triads, they move in silence and strike with precision. Rooted in ancient Chinese tradition, the Triads are one of the GTA universe's most disciplined, deadly, and widespread organizations. In GTA 3, they run Chinatown in Liberty City, calm on the surface, but boiling underneath. In San Andreas, they expand under the leadership of Wu Mu, a blind strategist who sees further than most bosses ever could. They operate casinos, import-export fronts, and drug pipelines, all while maintaining a strict internal code. No chaos, no noise, just results. Unlike the flamboyant mafias or chaotic street gangs, the Triads rely on coordination, cultural loyalty, and brutal retaliation when crossed. They don't take over cities, they become part of them. Where the Mafia uses fear, the Yakuza commands with honor. Based in Liberty City's Staunton Island, the Yakuza are elegant, precise, and absolutely unforgiving. They wear suits instead of colors, bow before they shoot, and hold a code of loyalty that cuts deeper than most bullets. Led by siblings Asuka and Kenji Kaisen, the Yakuza walk a fine line between discipline and domination. Asuka, cold, calculated, and surgical with her power moves. Kenji, traditional, emotional, and obsessed with respect. Together they manage rackets, casinos, and international connections, until Claude enters the picture. What begins as an alliance ends in betrayal, blood, and a power vacuum that shatters their empire. They aren't the loudest force in Liberty, but when they move, they change everything. Some gangs want power. The Tongs, they've had it for centuries. The Tongs aren't just a gang. They're a legacy, an ancient Chinese secret society rooted in honor, ritual, and rarely seen, rarely named, but always felt. In GTA 2, they operated in the open, with dragon tattoos, ceremonial weapons, and a presence that shook the streets. But by Chinatown Wars, they faded into legend, pulling strings behind Triad factions, running high-stakes heroin deals, and handling problems with a whisper and a blade. They don't need turf wars. They don't need colors, because when the Tongs want you gone, you're gone. Subtlety? That's not the Colombian Cartel's style. They don't make deals. They make explosions. Led by the ruthless and unpredictable Catalina, the Colombian Cartel in GTA 3 is a force of pure chaos. Their business? Spank, a synthetic drug that floods Liberty City and sparks gang wars across boroughs. Their strategy? Blow up banks, backstab allies, leave bodies in the street. Catalina doesn't just double-cross Claude. She kicks off the entire game with one of the most brutal betrayals in GTA history. She's joined by Miguel, her more diplomatic right hand. But make no mistake, it's Catalina who runs the show and burns it down. The cartel's trucks are armored, their goons are everywhere, and their loyalty non-existent. From street gangs in Los Santos to ancient crime families in Liberty and global syndicates pulling strings from the shadows, gangs are the backbone of GTA's criminal universe. They don't just give you missions. They build the world. They drive the betrayals. They create the chaos. Whether it's Gro Street pride, Yakuza honor, or cartel corruption, every gang leaves a mark.